Chapter 10. The Ground That Speaks. Night loosened its grip without ceremony. Mist clung low between the trees, silver and thin, while the last embers of the watchfires breathed their final red glow into the dark. Most of the camp still slept. Armor lay stacked beside bedrolls. Horses shifted in their tethers. Somewhere a man muttered through a dream, but Rose was already awake. Her eyes opened at the faintest tremor. Not sound, not light. Pressure, boots turning in dirt. A body rolling against mail. Leather creaking under weight. Her breath steadied. Bare feet pressed into the cold earth, and the world spoke. Darius. Steady, measured steps near the horses. Alaric, lighter, easier. Already pacing while murmuring quiet orders to the scouts. Kale, farther back. Still. Too still. Like a drawn blade pretending to rest. Rose sat up slowly and folded her blanket with careful precision. The motion was neat. Automatic. A habit built from years of learning that if something was left scattered, it could be taken, used, held against her. She rose. Mist brushed her calves as she stepped clear of the bedroll. Darius noticed first. He stood beside the horses, fastening a strap on his gauntlet, helm tucked beneath one arm. Even half awake, he carried himself like responsibility had never left his shoulders. "You wake like a soldier," he said. Rose gave him a faint, tired smile. "I wake like someone who doesn't want to die in her sleep." A quiet huff of laughter came from Alaric somewhere in the dim. "She's got a point, Captain." Darius's mouth twitched, almost a smile, but his eyes stayed thoughtful. "We leave within the hour," he said. "The king will want to see the ledger himself." The weight of that settled over the air. Not ruins, not relics. Ink, proof. Kale's presence lingered at the edge of that thought. Controlled, watchful, a steadiness that didn't belong to rest. Rose didn't look his way. She didn't need to. Darius finished checking tack, then gave a short nod, more to his men than to anyone in particular. "Move quietly," he murmured. "No spectacle. We ride for the capital." Kale stepped closer into the pale, thinning dark, voice smooth as oiled steel. "We were ordered to search," he said. "The king did not send us for orphan ledgers and village crimes." Darius didn't even turn fully. "The king sent me to bring back truth," he replied, calm and final. "This ledger is truth." Kale's jaw tightened once. A fraction. "The ruins?" He tried again. "We don't split our attention," Darius cut in. "Not when a witness and evidence are in my camp." That ended it. Not loudly, just completely. Dawn lifted itself slowly over the treetops, painting the mist in soft silver and gold. The camp stirred into motion, armor buckling, horses stamping, low voices trading orders like breath. Rose stood just outside the ring of tents, cloak drawn close, bare feet resting against damp soil. The ground thrummed with information, movement, weight, breath. Darius tightened his mount's bridle and glanced over. "We'll make better time on horseback," he said. "You should ride with one of us." Rose shook her head gently. "I travel better on my own feet." Darius frowned faintly. His eyes dropped, bare feet, mud-stained ankles, the quiet steadiness in the way. She stood like the earth could hold, her up even when the world wouldn't. "Explain." Rose hesitated, choosing words carefully. "The ground warns me," she said quietly. "If something's wrong, I can feel it. Too many steps. Weight where it shouldn't be. If I'm on a horse, it goes quiet." Darius blinked once. "You feel danger through the dirt." Before Rose could answer, Alaric spoke. "She's telling the truth, Captain." Darius looked at him. Alaric lifted one shoulder in a blunt, unromantic shrug, like this wasn't a miracle, just a fact. "She got me back to camp," he said. "I was turned around in those pines and didn't even know it until she stopped, knelt, and told me which way the ground rose." He glanced at Rose, then back to Darius. "She also warned me about loose rock before I stepped wrong. Said use the roots." I listened. "The stones slid the second my boot tested them. A beat." "Her feet don't lie," Alaric added, voice steady. "The earth doesn't." Darius's gaze returned to Rose. Not soft, not easy, measured. "And if you're right?" Rose's voice stayed quiet. "Then I'll know something's wrong before steel does." Alaric's mouth twitched. "And it'd be a waste not to use that," he said. "An alarm system that doesn't sleep." Darius held the thought a moment longer. Then he nodded once. "So you walk?" He tightened the last strap on his bridle. "But if you tire or need anything, you ask." Rose nodded. "Understood." Darius didn't press her for more. He didn't demand she prove it again. He simply accepted what his friend had witnessed, and what her eyes said was true. That mattered. More than she knew. They moved out at first light. Rose fell into step beside Alaric's horse, bare souls memorizing the language of the land. The road was narrow, damp with morning, lined by pines that swallowed sound and made distance feel closer than it was. For a while it was peaceful. Birdsong, harness creaks, the soft rhythm of travel. Then, something wrong. Not a scream. Not a shock. A wrongness in the earth's pulse, like the ground had tightened its jaw. Rose slowed. Alaric noticed instantly. "Traveler?" She didn't answer. She dropped to one knee, pressed her palm to the soil, and let the world stretch outward through touch. There. Wagon wheels, hidden, not moving. Crossbows tightening. Dozens of boots shifting in brush. 2 clusters. One on the ridge, one crouched behind fallen pines at the bend. A kill zone. 30, maybe more, waiting. Rose rose quickly, wiping her palm on her cloak. "Bandits," she said sharply. Both sides of the bend, ridge and fallen pines. 30, maybe more. Darius didn't question, didn't doubt. His eyes sharpened, mind already building the battlefield. Positions. Orders snapped low and fast. Alaric, flank left. Take 10 and climb the ridge, quiet. Alaric swung into motion without hesitation, grin gone, voice all business. With pleasure. Darius gestured to the front line, shifting riders and footmen like pieces that already knew their place. Then, "Kyle," Darius said, and his gaze cut clean. "Rear guard. Stay with her." Kale's jaw flexed. "Yes, Captain." Darius's voice lowered, measured. "If she says move, you move." Something in Kale's eyes sharpened at that. Not anger, not open defiance, control being tested. He swallowed it, and nodded once. The first bolt cut the air. Rose felt it before she heard it. Air splitting. Tension releasing, the ridge exhaling violence. "Down!" Her shout dropped the line seconds before the volley struck. Wood exploded. Pine bark burst into splinters. Men cursed and rolled, shields snapping up as steel rang into place. Darius surged forward, drawing the ambush into the open exactly as if he'd planned it. "Now!" he shouted. And from the ridge, Alaric's unit hit like a hammer. Bandits screamed as riders and archers broke their high ground, forcing them down into chaos. Rose stayed near the supply cart, barefoot planted in dirt that vibrated with bodies, hooves, panic, and impact. She pressed both hands to the soil, focused, filtered chaos into meaning. "3 behind the log," she called, voice sharp as a blade. "One has a bow." Kale turned, more reflex than belief. And there they were, exactly where she said. The archer's string snapped back. Kale's sword flashed. 2 arrows deflected. The third man fell before he could loose again. Kale didn't look triumphant. He looked caught. For a heartbeat, he stared at Rose like he'd just watched someone pull a truth out of the earth. Then his face smoothed back into control. The fight ended as quickly as it began. Bandits scattered into the trees. A handful didn't move again. The forest went still, broken only by groans and the soft cough of horses. Rose moved before anyone asked. Her satchel was already open. Herbs, clean cloth, salves wrapped tight to keep out damp. A wounded knight lay on his side, leg torn where a bolt had found a gap in plate. Rose knelt beside him, fingers steady. "Stay still," she murmured. "Breathe." The man's voice came out rough. You're not army." Rose crushed arnica between her fingers, mixed it with comfrey and a few drops of water, and pressed it into the wound with practiced care. "No," she said softly. "But pain doesn't wait for titles." His breath hitched, then steadied. She moved to the next, then the next. Quiet hands, no fanfare, no magic. Just skill and mercy sharpened into survival. Alaric approached with a grazed arm, watching her like he couldn't decide if he was impressed or unsettled. "You carry half an infirmary in that bag," he muttered. "Habit," Rose said, tying a bandage tight. Darius watched from a few steps away, blood on his gauntlet. Posture still controlled, but his eyes had changed. Not softer, deeper. He knelt beside her when the worst of the wounded were stabilized. Voice lowered so it didn't become spectacle. "You didn't have to do this," he said. Rose didn't look up. "Didn't I?" she answered quietly, pressing cloth to a man's shoulder. "They stood between me and death." Darius studied her hands for a long moment. Then, quieter still, "If the king saw you now, even he'd struggle to call you a threat." Rose's fingers paused once. Not because she didn't hear him, because part of her didn't know what to do with words like that. Then she kept working. Night settled slow, not sudden, not dramatic, just the gradual dimming of light until everything became shadow and ember glow. The camp built itself again. Fires, bedrolls, murmured voices. The wounded slept heavier now. The living counted themselves without saying the numbers out loud. The smell of smoke and herbs lingered. Rose sat by the fire, legs folded beneath her, bare toes pressed into the soil. She cleaned her tools with quiet care, as if keeping her hands busy could keep her thoughts from drifting somewhere darker. A few of the younger knights passed by and nodded, shy and grateful. "Thank you," one whispered, like speaking too loud might break the gentleness. Rose only gave a small, tired smile. The earth beneath her hummed. Darius, steady nearby, writing by lantern. Alaric, easier now, moving through camp like laughter had returned to him in pieces. Cale, pacing, never resting, like a blade refusing its sheath. Rose's eyes lowered to the fire, and without meaning to, she hummed. A lullaby, the same soft tune she used to give the children when the nights were too long and the walls felt too close. The sound was small, warm. It slipped through the camp like breath under a door. Shoulders loosened, breathing deepened. Steel hands unclenched. Even the horses stilled. The firelight flickered, and for a moment, faint golden motes drifted above the embers, like sparks that had forgotten how to fall. No one called it magic. No one named it. They only slept easier. All of them, except one. Beyond the reach of the firelight, Cale stood half in shadow, watching, not speaking, not approaching, just still. The glow caught in his eyes. Not warm, reflective, calculating, and beneath them all, the ground kept humming, not sleeping, waiting.